Hey there guys, so a different style of video and just to put things into perspective and shed a little bit of light on basically life and things like that. So Fridays used to be a day that I really didn't look forward to, not in terms of training per se, but just in terms of just life in general. And so I'll just start, the night before I have security work, and yeah, I'd finish and I'd get home, and it wouldn't exactly be early. And then Friday, wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 a.m. starts. Then I'd work from 6 a.m. till 2 p.m., finish up work, get home, and then, I start my next job at 5 p.m. and that was like 5 p.m. till midnight or sometimes 12:30. So yeah, it was either a 17 or a 17 and a half hour workday. And I really didn't like Fridays. It was just a huge day. And when I finished work on the Friday at 2 p.m., it was sort of like, okay, I'll quickly get home. It's about 2:30, and it's sort of like, what do I do? Like, do I quickly eat and then have a sleep and then, just have a real short nap and then get ready for work again? Or do I just, have something to eat and just head straight outside and get some training done, have a shower and get ready for work again? Because obviously I've got to get to work, and if you start work at 5 p.m. over here in Australia, you're definitely battling peak hour traffic, so it just takes longer to get anywhere where you need. So it's sort of like, Fridays, okay, I just have to suck it up and get the work done. Fridays I just do my one arm overhead press. I really didn't have a lot of time to do anything else. So it's sort of like, first warm up was 26 kilos, knock that out, give myself 2 or so minutes break. Next warm up would be 36 kilos, same deal, knock that out for a set of 10, give myself another 2 minutes break. Then take it up to 46 kilos, same thing again, knock out a set of 10. And then, depending how that felt, I had a really good idea of how hard the top set was going to be. So then, from the 46 to, I take it up to 56 kilos. Normally I'd give myself, 3 to 5 minutes break. Just, I wanted to hit the top set. And if I hit the top set, for 20 reps, which, I always basically did. And now, that always happens. I've gotten stronger. But it was sort of like, okay, even at my worst in terms of being sleep deprived, because Thursday running into Friday, I was only getting about 5.5, 6 hours sleep. And then, I've already done a day's worth of work, and then, I'm doing this. I really haven't eaten a heck of a lot. And then it's, back off to work again. So it's sort of like, if I can hit this while, feeling at my worst and just feeling, demotivated and flat, surely I'm going to do a lot better once I've actually had, some time to eat, sleep, get calories into the system. And look, I was sort of stuck with, one arm overhead press really did have to be done on the Friday, because if I left it till Saturday, I don't really have much time to recover for Monday's heavy bench press session. Then, like Monday was heavy bench, Tuesday I squatted, Wednesday I'm going to need some sort of break. Most of the time I just ended up doing some really light stuff at home, but I certainly wasn't going to train shoulders then. Thursday comes around, it's sort of like, I've got work again, I've got other things I have to do. Still not 100% recovered from bench press, and it's just like, okay, Friday, yep, shoulders have recovered enough, it works well. I've had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to essentially recover. Let's hit some shoulders. And then, I was just stuck in that sort of, Friday wasn't very nice, and that's what I just had to do. Normally after I hit the top sets of like the shoulder press, I'd have a 3-4 minute break, make a cup of coffee, and as I was doing that, just continue to muck around, hit whatever else I really needed to, relating to shoulders, triceps, or even traps for that regard. So I had to be really conscious of time and just get all the work done. Now things have, thankfully they've changed a lot. I've been able to drop the Friday evenings, which, makes a massive difference. So now, come home from work, have something to eat, can have a coffee, sit there, have a bit of time to relax, and then I'll go outside, I'll hit shoulders, and I can now train. So, Friday evenings have freed up heaps. As a result, Friday I still want to have an early night, just tired from the week that's already been. But then wake up Saturday morning, today as I'm putting this together, and it's like what a difference it makes, being able to go to bed early, have a really good night's sleep. I think I slept close to 10 hours because I was pretty exhausted. So, that's it, me at the moment. Really thankful, able to at least, drop an evening shift. Everything else is balancing itself back out, but for a lot of time poor dads, I know exactly what it's like, and in some regards I had it a lot harder when I was doing double shifts, because you really don't want to go outside and train, because then you just, you're tired already, you've already done a shift, and it's like, well, I got another shift coming up. And at the end of the day, if I finish to say at 12:30, I'm not getting home until it's like 1 o'clock something in the morning, and it's like, I've been up for, quite a while, 20, 21 hours most of the time. And then it's like, Saturday, I've got young kids, they always wake up early, so you don't exactly get a sleep in either, and it does leave you feeling pretty drained. So I think a long story short, with the purpose of this video is there is always time to train. You don't have to do what I did and train between a double shift. But there is certainly going to be sessions that you're going to do where you feel tired, under the weather, a bit sick. In the cases of being sick, just lighten the load, and just, even if you have to drop the weight to 50%, it's about staying consistent, staying in a routine. And, some people also find, well, I find personally for myself, if I go out and at least do the session, not that it's like lacking in self-respect, but you feel good that you looked after yourself, you can respect what you've done. It's just like I stayed consistent. Like at the end of the day, hardly anyone does, and you look around, training wise, and look at your local gym, for example, and look at all the people who just stay exactly where they are and they never get any better. And you'll find that's really common with a lot of time poor dads and people that are stuck into that trap. They'll either make excuses, because excuses, it does feel valid at the time, especially when you're tired. But if you can just dedicate yourself to 2 or 3 days a week, and it's like, what, I'm going to do this regardless of how I feel. So only an hour session, or I might do 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening, 3 times a week. It all adds up, and you start stacking those victories together, and you really do end up going from point A to point B. You don't have to chase down elite level, powerlifting or strongman goals, but it's really not hard to, go, what, I just want to be fitter, I want to be healthier, I just want to be more consistent, and I just want to set an example, even if it's not to others, I just want to set an example for myself that, I'm capable and, worth doing the work and worth putting it all in. So, that's just the purpose of this video, I guess. Life does get better. And thank you guys for all the support and the rest of it. It really does make a big difference. Channel's growing as well. Other, social media platforms are really taking off. So, a shout out once again to all you that support. It doesn't go unnoticed. I really do try and get back to all the comments. And, if you're stuck in a similar situation, drop a comment below. At the end of the day, this is life. If you guys have any questions, as I said, comment below, and have a great day wherever you are.